some that I shot with my pro camera off the ship some months back. Right about, I'd say about 25 seconds, you can see the stars are just about to move, but also we had a lot of movement on the ship. But some nice colors in there. The lights are going to wash out the these. I'm sorry. This was heading to Alaska, pretty much the same voyage. Yeah, this was, oh gosh, this was quite a while ago, maybe 6 months or so ago. I've had two or three run-ins with it, and they're amazing. And again, sometimes you can see this with a naked eye, sometimes not. So always shoot with your phone and see what you get. Try to keep that horizon as straight as possible. You'll dry my LCD through the roof if it's off just a little bit. Don't do that to me. Although again, I will say this photographically, sometimes shooting at a really severe diagonal can be a great dynamic. I just love that because we're so used to seeing things either horizontal or vertical that if you introduce this diagonal, it creates this tension in the image, that this kind of angst that I just love. So I'll shoot that way a lot on the street. But for this type of thing, since we have a literal horizon line, we want to try to keep that nice and straight if possible. Using the moon, of course, the more moon we have, a little more difficult to see the stars in the aurora. But if we have it, you might as well use it. So using that bouncing off the water there. And this is more recently, and these I just shot with a cell phone. I have some pro shots of them as well, but these are shot with the iPhone. Did a pretty good job. The iPhone does a maximum of 10 seconds. I'm told you could do 30 seconds, but it's actually a combination of 3 10-second shots. But 10 seconds is plenty. Really, right around 4 to 8 is about right. So this is just on the night mode. Hit that night mode, hit that button again, and you can adjust the night mode, the time. I think it's from 1 second up to 10 seconds. So I pushed that all the way up to 10 seconds, and it did a pretty nice job. And again, it's pretty much stabilizing the stars as well. Even though we were vibrating and in motion, it's pretty much stabilized the stars here. And these you could see with a naked eye. You could actually see it. It was pretty incredible. There was a huge family on board too, so I ran into the dining room and said, we got to get out there, let's go. And so we all went out and checked it out together. It was a lot of fun. Some nice colorations. You know, just look around the sky. Look for different compositions always. Composition is very important. Get a nice balance in there. Sometimes there'll be things in the foreground too, especially if you're on land that you can utilize with this beautiful streaking. Now these are off the web, and the credits at the end to give these people their just due here. But some amazing images here. So, you know, the swirling, I say there's about 20 seconds or so. Stars are nice and sharp, shot from a tripod. Nice light in the foreground. I love this too. If you can get this kind of curvature drawing your eye into the center of the frame, that's a really nice dynamic. This one's beautiful. I love this. Now, I'll do this a lot in my street shooting as well. This is with a wide angle lens on a pro camera. It's probably a 16 or so. You can tell because you have this distortion on either side where things are being curved into the center. But look how beautifully those trees mimic the lines of the aurora itself. That's just a gorgeous look. Now, I'll do this on the street a lot. I shoot in very closely. I try to be very deft and gentle and kind and respectful, but at the same time, I want something that's very intimate and telling rather than shooting from across the room with a long lens. That kind of makes me a little uncomfortable sometimes. I don't want to feel like I'm doing something untoward or sneaky. It's very uncomfortable for me and for the people that I'm photographing. So instead, although I'm very shy, I'll meet people straight in the eye to build that confidence and let them know that I'm there because I'm, sincerely interested in who they are, and I'm trying to create something that's meaningful about them. But I'll come in, if I may, I'll come in very tight with that wide angle and shoot very tight because now that action, it's like interaction. I'm part of that scene. I'm part of that interaction. Rather than being an observer from over there, I'm all of a sudden a participant. And I love that dynamic, although psychologically it does really challenge me. It really pushes me because, again, I'm actually very shy. So it really brings me out of my shell for that one moment. But that human interaction is something really beautiful and potent for me. So I really enjoy it at the same time. But it really does push me. And also pushes me to do my best work. And that's another thing as well. I'm very obsessive about this. You can just enjoy it, and that's a fantastic thing. But I do encourage you to do your best shooting every time, and not think in terms of correcting it later. there's nothing wrong with that, I suppose, but going in and manipulating it and doing this and that, and AI generating, and you're the artist, only you really know what it is you want to create, what you want to express, and relying on any device to communicate that, I just take the bull by the horn, decide what it is that you need, what you want, and what you're trying to communicate, and utilize this, utilize that as a tool rather than relying on it as your eye. So always create for yourself and always push yourself to do your best composition at the time rather than thinking you're going to go back there and correct it later. I never have time to go back and correct. I don't even know those programs well. And I do think there's a beautiful purity in doing something that's real and meaningful and true, especially in today's world where almost nothing is real anymore. I think there's a glory in that. This is another one as well. Longer exposure, you can tell because of the swirling here and getting this texture really beautiful. Dropping some things into the foreground can be great if we're on land. Really gorgeous swirl there. This one's beautiful. If we're lucky enough to have a really intense aurora and we can use that, use the ocean there as reflection, that's a fabulous thing. I try to never put things directly in the center of the frame, but for this kind of thing, it can be really interesting. As that's mirrored there, it can be a great effect. So they're just below. You could even put that just in the center of the frame, so it looks like almost a duplication. That's a great look. This is one of my favorites. Has anyone ever been to this church? Okay, one gentleman on a cruise some weeks ago said, "Hey, I've been to that," and he shot this very church. Apparently it's in Iceland. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I hear it's in Iceland. This is one of my favorites. Beautiful. And another thing you can do if you're on land, of course, well, here on the ship as well, when you're shooting, if you have a little flashlight, $10 flashlight or a headlamp, when you're taking that exposure, maybe you can drop your family in. So what we do, we maybe put our family there in front of the railing on the ship, and then take a picture with our phone, and boom, when it's open for those 10 seconds or so, take a little light, little flashlight or little headlamp, and just paint, they call it painting with light, just swirl that over your family there to light them up in the foreground. So boom, we're open, we've got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and just try to evenly light your family or friends or an object in the foreground during that exposure. And that's going to light them up and balance that with the aurora background. That's true of any nighttime exposure as well. Maybe you're just shooting the stars or maybe the moon or something, and you want to put people in there. Just put them in the foreground and use a little lamp there to light them up in the foreground to balance it. It's really a lot of fun. I remember doing that even in high school. We do things like that. But this is a really beautiful image, and you can tell here they've lit that just a little bit. I would think some kind of little LED light or something to fill it in just a little bit. Sometimes you'll have street lamps too that will cast a little light on the foreground that can be really helpful. Again, a little bit more swirling. That's a slightly longer exposure. This I really like too, Sometimes, again, I try to not place things right in the middle of the frame, but sometimes that symmetry can be really effective as in architecture, that balance with these lines going out there, just beautiful, really nice straight horizon there. I used to shoot a lot like this. I'd ask, I think that's a person out there. I can't tell actually. I never been sure if it's a dog or a person out there. I think it's a person. But I used to create this in my own shooting as well, the sense of longing, the sense of connection, the sense of longing. Sometimes I'd ask my partners if I was out, there'd be some little path or something. I'd go on down that path and just look kind of wistful down there, and they'd go down that path. Sadly, a lot of them just kept right on going. Seemed like a good idea at the time, sharing my art. Oh, live and learn. Here's another nice one. Beautiful image there. And again, just gorgeous looking. Gorgeous color. Again, that's where you're going to see this green more, being more sensitive to that in the collision with the gases at that level. This is nice. You see slightly larger exposure and getting that swirl in there, really nice. This one also beautiful. I think lit just a little bit with a light. Again, we open that up and we just swirl our light in here to get that lit up in the foreground a little bit during the exposure. That's a beauty as well. And again, I've seen just folks on the ship that just used their cell phones on automatic mode that took unbelievable imagery, really. Okay, that's the end of that section. So